Hop into the shuttle bus this week as we discuss Coco Moon. We are your hosts, Faith and Sapph. Welcome to Shuttle Bus Podcast. Hello and welcome to this week of Shuttle Bus Podcast. We are here discussing Coco Moon with my host, Sapph. Say hello, Sapph.
Hello, Faith.
Hello, and we are starting off at the top of the album, so with the first song, Adam Check Please. What are your thoughts on Adam Check Please, Sapph?
Okay, so with the recent release of Up North, which we talked about last episode, it was really good to go back and relive the original album, I guess, a little bit. So for Adam Check Please, when I was doing my research for it, listening to it again was surprisingly really pleasant. Not that I didn't enjoy the song, but definitely with it being the first single that was released. Or wait, no. It was the second, right? Is that right?
It was the second.
Oh, where's the second? Second, got it. I loved it when that happened, but I really love it now. And it's probably one of my favorite songs on the on the album now, which is really surprising.
That's great because I love Adam Check Please a lot.
I don't know. It's just the backing vocals, the track itself is really, really cool. And it might have hints of it's definitely new, but it might have hints of some of his older works in it, you know? So,
yeah.
What do you think?
I agree. It has amazing production. It's just, there is so much layering going on in that song. It is fantastic to listen to. That would be a song that I think would be really cool to get an instrumental version of, just because there is so much going on in that. But yeah, it's really great. I do love the actual production of it. Aside from the lyrics, which in my opinion are amazing and I love them, the production itself is just amazing. And Adam Check Please is really high on my list for I don't exactly know where all the songs fall, but Adam Check Please would be very high on my list. And I find it as an ambitious creative myself, I find it to be very inspiring.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the idea that there is the possibility, if I put in all this work, that all this hard work could pay off, you know?
Absolutely.
It's knowing, there's this dude who's just for lack of a better term, a nobody from a small Midwestern town who has made his dreams come true. And I have that possibility for that to happen too.
Yeah, I really, really love that. And I guess for me too, it hit home because at the time of the release of the album and the song and everything, I was at my first job. So it really made me motivated to do a good job, you know?
Yeah. I was also at my first job and still at my first job, but yes, it was very made me view my first job or my current job, which is my first job, in a different light.
Right.
You know, it can be very frustrating at times, but just having this oh, I can't remember exactly what the lyric was, but something about stocking shelves is how he learned to do his level best. And I was like, oh, that's yeah, some days what I do at work doesn't seem like a lot, but I gotta still do my best.
And that really can pay off. And it's really good to hear. And sometimes you'll get feedback and you feel really good when you see what you've been doing come to fruition, whether that's through a colleague saying, do good, you've done you've done good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really nice to be able to say I did something, it was recognized, and I can go on to greater things too.
Exactly. It's just, yes, overall very, very inspiring for a lot of different reasons. But yes, as a as an ambitious creative, it is very inspiring to kind of just
Indeed.
keep working at it, because some days you're working on things and it's like it just gets discouraging because it feels like you're making no progress. And it's just like, you know what? If you keep working at it, it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere right now, but just keep working at it and there will be a benefit to all the hard work you're putting in.
Absolutely. That's definitely the message he meant to convey with it, and he did a very, very good job.
Yes, bravo, Adam.
Under the Circus Lights. It's your favorite.
Yes, it is indeed
You
my
want to take the
favorite.
first one, or?
Sure. So, as I have mentioned several times, and I think in probably every single episode of this podcast so far, Under the Circus Lights, I really do think it has come out every single time. But Under the Circus Lights has indeed become my favorite Owl City song. Probably maybe favorite song in general. It just has a very special place in my heart. When I first listened to it, I so like, I started listening to Coco Moon on the 20 like midnight 12:30ish of the 24th. And like we listened to Adam Check Please and it's like, okay, we already heard this before. It's super fun. This is cool. We're listening to the album for the first time. And then Under the Circus Lights came on and it's like I just started crying. And I don't even really know why. I don't know if it was like finally hitting me that I was listening to the new Owl City album. I don't know if it was just such a pretty song. I don't know why I was crying, but I started crying. It's
Aww.
just it was just like a very magical like experience for me being able to hear Under the Circus Lights for the first time. Kind of, yeah.
Part of that is probably the fact that it was the first new Owl City song that you'd heard. Because you
Right.
had Adam Check Please and Kelly Time, but the rest of them were so unknown. He kept
Hmm.
everything really under wraps. The only other one that we kind of know about or knew about was the tornado slightly because it was on his website, but that's about it. We just had a synopsis. So
Right.
Under the Circus Lights is probably really special because of it being the first new thing.
Hmm.
So
I think that's kind of what it was. And plus, leading up to the release of the album, like I remember kind of that night before, as I was staying up to listen to the album, I started getting like really nervous. Like I had all this hype leading up to it. And I was like, given what we had already heard from Adam Check Please and Kelly Time and Vitamin C, and we had heard snippets from The Tornado and Learn How to Surf, and like
mhm.
given all those snippets we had already heard, I was like, wow, this is going to be such a great album, and I had already hyped it up so much in my mind that I started to get really nervous. Like, what if this doesn't meet my expectations? What if I end up being disappointed? What if I leave this album just being like, well, that wasn't great? I had all this excitement and it just wasn't good. And so I was like, I was very nervous. And then Under the Circus Lights was the first new song I hadn't heard yet. And it was not only met my expectations, but was way greater than I could ever think it could be.
I think a lot of people definitely felt like that. So that's so I don't want to say valid because valid seems so overused, but valid. um,
Yes. So what were
it's so
your
cute.
it
Go ahead.
is,
Sorry.
honestly. No, I was gonna ask you what your like first thoughts or experiences with it were, or what your initial first points of the song are.
It's so cute. It's just cute. I love it.
It
But
is,
in all
honestly.
seriousness, it feels timeless, honestly. It's one of the songs that's just so unique to Coco Moon, and I feel like it's probably the most original in terms of the sound. A lot of the mm, production and stuff like that, like a lot of the melodies and things. I don't think you'll find a lot of things resembling Under the Circus Lights from his other work. So I don't know, it just feels timeless. It feels brand new, something fresh. And yet it's still a love song, which is really, really cute. And
Yeah.
the bridge.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
bridge. I think it deserves its own point for me.
Exactly.
I mean, it just feels so alive. And that part, I feel like I definitely wasn't expecting when I first listened to it, you know? So,
Yeah, it's like to have this break, you know, see saying, "Welcome to the most spectacular show in the world." It's like, whoa, and then there's just like really cool instrumental after that. It's like, dude,
exactly.
this is so cool. So yes, I agree. The bridge is too good. It's too good.
And for me, I love instrumentals. So that arrangement, I'm not gonna say an arrangement, that's probably what it is. It just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It blew me away. So I really liked it. I like to think that Abby's backup singing would be the girl in the flying trapeze.
Ooh, yes. Cause see, and that's another interesting point. I'm going to go a little on a rabbit trail here real quick. So technically, the lady vocals on all of the songs have been said to be some lady called Sissy Willow, but everybody still believes that it's just Abby under a different name because we can't find any like thing of a who a Sissy Willow is. And if somebody does have any information on a Sissy Willow, like please like leave it in the comments because like I am extremely curious about it to see if it is somebody else, but there's like no information on who a Sissy Willow is. And so like a lot of people have like I think that's the name. If I get that wrong, it's going to be so embarrassing, but whatever. But if I'm remembering correctly, that is the name. But like nobody has any information on this said lady who has done the backing vocals for all the female parts in these songs. But everybody suspects it's Abby because like one, we can't find any information on a Sissy Willow, and two, like it sounds like Abby because Abby has done backing vocals for Adam before, and it sounds like Abby.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is definitely Abby. And
Yes.
if I'm wrong, people correct me, please. I was unaware of this Sissy Willow. Like I've never heard this before, so I I figured it was Abby.
I think
But that's
it
really
might be
interesting.
I think it might be listed on the album credits. If it is,
Oh,
like I have both the CD and the vinyl and the cassette, but I don't know if it's listed on the cassette because this cassette's so small. But I do have the vinyl and the CD, so I'll have to like look and maybe like if it's there, I'll send you some pictures and maybe we can post the pictures up. But I'm pretty sure a Sissy Willow is credited on the back of like the vinyl and the CD. I'll have to check though.
hmm, that is really interesting. All right, what else you got?
So I feel like I've touched on this, and I feel like I'm pretty sure I've touched on this probably every single time I've mentioned Under the Circus Lights on this podcast, which, as we've said, has been like every episode. But for me, the reason Coco Moon has become so special to me is, well, I mean, one, it is absolutely beautiful and stunning. It was the first song on the album that made me cry, so it's like it has like that emotional connection. But it
Mhm.
wasn't initially my favorite song on the album. And not to say that I
Ooh.
didn't like it, it was just like maybe third, maybe fourth on the list. But it wasn't until a few days after listening to it that it like really started to kind of like connect dots in my head to why it was like, and then like why it was so special to me. I was like, oh, I really like this song, but what about it is so special? And I started to connect dots that to me, the girl on the flying trapeze is Coco Moon. So like the
Aw.
protagonist of the story is talking about how like this girl on the flying trapeze, he fell in love with the girl on the flying trapeze and he was so enamored and this girl was so magical and like that's how I felt or feel about Coco Moon is that Coco Moon is just so magical and I love Coco Moon so much and I was so enamored when I listened to Coco Moon for the first time. So like I equate Coco Moon to the girl on the flying trapeze.
That's really cool. I like that. I like to think that. That's nice. It shows how much of a special place in your heart that Coco Moon really holds for you. So
Right. And so, like, for me, Under the Circus Lights is special just because it's such a great song. But since Coco Moon is my favorite Owl City album, to have a song that for me represents my feelings towards Coco Moon makes that song that much more special. It's like my Coco Moon
right.
song.
Coco Moon is Under the Circus Lights for you.
Yes. It's like that feeling that I had when I listened to Coco Moon for the first time is encapsulated in Under the Circus Lights.
I like it. I like it.
Yes. So do I.
Obviously.
I have spent probably half of our time on this podcast talking about Under the Circus Lights and Toast.
And there's more to come, folks.
Uh,
Oh, toast. Toast.
the way you feel about Toast is the way I feel about Under the Circus Lights.
Oh, you mean mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise toast. Yes, that's right.
Mayonnaise toast.
Adam, the way
Yeah.
that Adam feels about toast and you feel about mayonnaise is the way I feel about Under the Circus
It's the
Lights.
perfect combo.
Right. uh, eating mayonnaise toast while listening to Under the Circus Lights. Perfect day.
Oh, that's bliss. That's absolute bliss.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to move to Kelly time or have you got some more?
I think that pretty much sums it up for Under the Circus Lights. Cause
All right.
yeah, you wanna start off with your first point of Kelly time? I don't.
Yeah. So for me, I would have really liked an instrumental for Kelly time because I really like the production for it. And we've said production a good bit. This entire album is just packed with awesome tracks,
Yes.
awesome sounds, awesome backing vocals. It's all so top notch, and it's one of the best albums I would say that Adam has put together. And that's a bold statement. I know, guys. I trust me. I love Maybe I'm Dreaming, but Coco Moon is one of the best he's put together, and it's so coherent. Like it. Can cohesive, not coherent. That too, but cohesive. What do you think?
um, so yes, I agree about what you say about Coco Moon as an album. Back to Kelly time. So for me, my thoughts on Kelly time are a little bit opposite. I do like Kelly time. I'm not gonna say I don't like Kelly time because it is a good song. It's just it's kind of lower on the list for me. I like every time I listen to Kelly time, it's like, oh yeah, this is a good song. I do enjoy it, but it's like it's a little bit lower on the list for me. It's like it's great, it's okay. I don't know if it just got overplayed because it was the first single we got, so
Mm.
maybe I just got bored of it listening to it so many times. But like I've listened to all the other ones the same amount, if not more, as Kelly Time, and I don't get bored of them. I don't get bored of Adam Check Please. I don't get bored of Under the Circus Lights. I don't get bored of The Tornado or Sons of Thunder. But like Kelly Time, it's like, it's okay. I'm not gonna really have this one on repeat very often. I'll listen to it when it's on the album, but it's not one that's like on repeat. Like I have a lot of songs on this album that are on repeat. But Kelly Time, it's as I said, it's not bad. It's not that I don't like it. It's just lower on the list.
I would tend to agree, to be honest. I really enjoy it, and I think it was a good song to start with in terms of getting the fans hyped up for the album. I almost said
Right.
songs. It is a song. It is a song. But
That it is.
I think it was a good choice because of that, but I definitely overplayed it myself. So, and sometimes I'll go look at it and go searching for it. But one of the things that I guess is probably more prominent for me than the other songs is the fact that if I'm starting to sing something just on the daily, I'm not even listening to music or anything, just kind of as I go around my day and stuff, it would be Kelly Time that I go to,
Oh,
which
really?
is interesting. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I will say I do ever so slightly when I'm listening to the album as a whole, I do ever so slightly get annoyed when Kelly Time comes on. Only because it comes right after Under the Circus Lights, and that means Under the Circus Lights is over. And I'm like, why does Under the Circus Lights have to be over? I want it to continue forever. So
You
I do
could
ever
just put it on
slightly.
recycle.
I could. And I do a lot of times.
See, if you made your own playlist and you put Kelly Time at the bottom and you put like Under the Circus Lights 2 or 3 times, it would still be over. So it's not necessarily Kelly Time's fault.
I know. But it's like I just got off. I just like got to the end of listening to like one of the most magical songs I've ever heard. And then we've got like the weird synthy open to Kelly Time that just
That's
ruins the vibe. It's like it just ruins my vibe. I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a beautiful song. I've got tears in my eyes, and then it's Kelly Time with its synth. And I'm like, come on. I was in Magic Land with Under the Circus Lights. Kelly Time has to come by and ruin it. Stupid Wilson.
Wilson didn't do anything.
He sang a song.
It's not Wilson that sang the song.
Well, let's sing from Wilson's perspective.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Once again, this gripe has nothing to do against Kelly Time itself. It's just that I love the Circus Lights so much, and Kelly Time just gets in the way.
Just gets in the
But like,
way.
if Under the Circus Lights like transitioned into another very dreamy song, I think it would be a better transition. But it jumps into the weird opening synth of Kelly Time. Not that
What
it's
would you
weird
put
in a bad
there?
way. I don't know. It's a good
I mean,
point.
out of
Another
all of
Under
them,
the
what
Circus
would you
Lights? I
put
don't
there?
know.
Like the Metal Lark?
Metal Lark might work or Dinosaur Park, but like as I said, I think the structure of the album works really well. There's just a couple of times where it's the transition to the next song is a bit jarring, and this is
Okay.
one of them. I said nothing
Justify
against Kelly
for
Time, but
okay. Okay. Oh, poor Kelly Time. Poor Kelly Time.
yes, sorry, Kelly Time. It's not you. It's just I don't know. Maybe me. It's just me getting annoyed that my favorite song's over. That's all. You're a
Okay.
good song.
On another silly note, I feel like Kelly Time shows Adam's age pretty well because I looked it up. And granted, I was born like 2 years after, but 2000 was when Castaway was created, was like released. So it kind of shows how old he's getting, which
Dude will be 40 in a couple of years.
I know, that's so weird. He sounds like he's 25.
Yes, his voice sounds young. His voice does
Exactly.
still sound young. I
Which
don't get the people who still say he looks like he's 25 because he doesn't, but his
he
voice
looks
sounds
like he's
young.
30. He
Yes, he
looks like
does
he's
look
30.
like, yeah, he looks like he's in his 30s like he is. He maybe looks like he's maybe a couple years younger than maybe he is. People might pick mid 30s rather than late 30s, but like the dude does not look like he's in his 20s.
No,
This has
not
nothing to
quite.
do with Fully Time, but I'm just saying the dude does not look like he's in his 20s.
As I stare at a picture of his face.
As I stare at a picture of him curl up into the fetal position on some airport chairs.
I'll pop a picture of our profile pictures onto the edit so they can see.
See, your profile picture of him, which is fairly recent, it looks like he's like mid-30s. You know, he doesn't look like he's
Yeah.
almost 40 in that picture, which I'll give that. He looks a little bit younger than he actually is, but he does not look like he's in his 20s. And I hear people say that all the
No.
time. Like, y'all
No.
are delusional a bit. Like, the dude does look like he's nearly 40 in a sense.
I would say 30 to mid 30, but the guy
Right.
will always for what did I just say?
I
He
don't know.
will always be forever young.
I mean, that's just a given. He can't help that part. He will forever be young.
I had to throw that in there.
Yes.
All right.
Ah. Yes.
Moving on to field notes. What have you got to say?
Let's see, what do I have? It was not what I was expecting at all. I was going
Ooh.
into it expecting, hearing the name Field Notes. I was thinking, oh, we're gonna get like, my thought was we're gonna get something that was akin to Plant Life. Like very dreamy, kind of plant, pictures painted for us, and it was gonna be, dreamy, naturey kind of sound. And like, that's not what we got. Not to say that what we got wasn't good. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I was thrown for a loop. And I was like, oh, not what I thought it was going to be, but this is still great. I love it. And, Diesel's just a great name for a dog. Just
Yeah.
opening thoughts.
I would absolutely say that's right though, because I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting what we got. Now, with that in mind, I was very excited when I heard the first like backing track for it because again, I love orchestra arrangements. So
Yes.
it's a really pretty melody.
Yeah. And it's really cool to have, like, it's no secret that Adam is a Christian, and I love that he's not scared to show his faith.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the fact that we get like what, three biblical tied songs in here? Is that right?
Field Notes, Sons of Thunder, and the Tornado. Tornado kind of has some faith
Oh,
elements alluded to. Is that the one you're referring to? Is there a third
I
one
was
that I missed?
referring to
Oh,
Meadowlark.
Meadowlark. Yeah, duh. Don't mind me forgetting the Meadowlark. I always
Oh,
forget the Meadowlark,
I felt bad
unfortunately.
about that.
I was like, which is the third one? The Tornado kind of has ish. Oh yeah, but yeah, duh, the Meadowlark. I was like, I don't know. I only see two, Seth. That's because I didn't go to my third page of notes.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. You're good. Yeah, no. It was unexpected, but it's really good and I wasn't expecting it to be such a fan favorite for a couple of our friends,
Yeah.
honestly, which was really jarring but super awesome and I loved it. I love the fact that they were just so excited for it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. It's really great. It's a great song. I do love the structure, like the orchestral structure of it. It's beautiful.
mm.
And also the elephant in the room in Field Notes is Adam said hell. Yes. Yes, he did. He did do that. He's a grown boy now.
I know. That was wild. It's like, excuse me?
Well,
What am
sir.
I here?
Uh, it's funny because like everybody for the most part has pretty much accepted the spoiler alerts, the use of hell and the tornado, because people have
Right.
said, well, that's properly used because he's referring to actual hell. But then people are like, a lot of people I've noticed are iffy and whether they're okay with Adam's use of hell on field notes. Also, I realized in my
Huh.
notes just now that I have it listed as filed notes. That's not related at all. But I feel wrong.
I mean,
That is
these notes will
unrelated.
be filed away, but
These will be filed. But yes, like that's the one that people have a hard time getting behind. I've seen like it's 50-50. Like especially within like the Christian fans. People are like,
right.
I don't know, like I can get behind him using hell in the tornado because he's like, using that more correctly that is referring to like actual hell. But then hell and field notes just doesn't sound right. So like I don't know.
Personally,
People
personally, I don't care.
right.
I
I think
really
I was a
don't care
little
because he's an adult,
yes.
and as a Christian, um, you really have to watch what you say and fill your head with. Anyways, it really doesn't matter the word
Right.
because if I say, um, snap, that's one of
Mm-hmm.
my go-to. It depends on your context. Whatever it is, it depends on your context. That's just
Exactly.
how I look at it. So for
Yeah.
him to say that in that way, it's a description. The word
Huh.
itself is not necessarily bad.
And it's
So
a relatively common phrase too.
yeah,
Like
it's very
there's hell to
common. A lot of
pay.
music.
Yeah. And like, and I will say when I first listened to it and he said hell, it was a little bit of jarring, not a jarring. Um, let me get my words right.
You're okay.
um, it was a little like, oh, Adam said hell. And like growing up in a conservative Christian household, like hell was like a bad word. And like
Right.
as I got older, I'm like, I don't know. Like, yes, I do believe certain uses of the word hell can be used in a more wrong way. But for me, the word hell isn't as bad as some other words. Like
Yeah.
it's especially within the context it's given in field notes and the tornadoes, like those aren't to me very bad uses of the word hell. They're both very common phrases. Like the tornado was the way he described it was that's a pretty common use, or like the way people describe tornadoes. That's a pretty common use of it. And like field notes, that's a common phrase. So I'm not as bothered by it. So I will say it wasn't that I was bothered by it when I first heard it. It was just like, oh, that's a little unexpected.
Yeah, unexpected is a good word for it. I'd say overall, if you're gonna wrap field notes in a nutshell, it's unexpected. So,
Yes, it really is. Everything about it.
but it's a good song. I have no quarrels against Adam for it. And so, yeah.
And that ending part is beautiful. We just get like, what is it, a minute or so of just orchestral sounds?
Yeah, that's really nice. It's very calming.
It is. It really is so pretty. Like,
I don't know. I feel like I don't play it enough. I should play it more.
I agree. I don't play it as much as I should. And like, I feel like there's so many good candidates for instrumentals on Coco Moon.
Absolutely.
Film notes being one of the top ones.
I mean, to be fair, I'd be pretty happy if he released like an instrumental all album.
Yes. Like, just give us
So
instrumentals, sir. We'd love it. I mean, I guess
maybe
that's
an
kind of what he
instrumental
did
of
with the
like
scores.
what?
I said, I
Sorry.
guess that's kind of what he did with the scores.
Yeah, except they were completely different.
They weren't Owl City style.
Right.
They weren't
Which I
Owl
do
City
love
style.
them. I love them so
They
much.
They're wonderful. I listen to them all the time.
Same. I was playing endurance for some friends last night. And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is one of the Owl City things." And they're just like, "Oh, this is actually really nice."
I
So
like how that's preface. Oh, this is actually really nice. Like, what else would you expect? It's Adam. It's beautiful, of course.
well, see, they're not fans. So it's just me like
Right.
babbling on over here in my own little world, being like, "Oh, Owl City's great."
See, you weren't lying. He is great.
This is unexpected from him, but it's him. It's still
Yes,
him.
it is
So
beautiful. Uh, I will say, speaking of the instrumental tracks or the scores, when I went to the show, when I went to the tour, and like as everybody's waiting for the show to start, he had the scores playing in the lobby or
mm,
in the place. I'm blanking on the name of what that's called. The place where tours
auditorium?
happen. The what? Yeah, the
The
auditorium.
auditorium?
I'm
There you go.
blanking on the venue. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
The place where tours happen.
Okay.
Um,
In the place where tours happen.
yes. But in the venue, he had the scores playing while before the show started. And it was so cool getting to listen to the Spirit of St. Louis in St. Louis. It was really cool. It was like one of my favorite parts.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Sons of Thunder.
That sounds great because I have an echo right now. So like echoes.
Sorry.
It's like echoey. So perfect.
Okay, moving on to Sons of Thunder.
Alrighty. I can't remember who took the first point for field notes.
I
Was it
think it's your
me?
turn.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, so yes. Sons of Thunder. I literally sobbed during this song. I was like sobbing, but I was trying to be quiet so I didn't wake up my family. But I was like sobbing and I had to like pause the song in the middle of it because I was like sobbing so much. I was
Aw.
sobbing during the song. It was like, oh, this song made me very, very emotional. It's like, as you can
Aw.
see my notes, I have a lot of points on Sons of Thunder. Oh,
Might be reading your notes.
yeah. Yes, it's I don't know. I should probably knock out a couple of these because I feel like you don't have as many points. Looking at your notes, you have like one little point for Sons of Thunder.
I can
Um,
make them stretch.
make them stretch, yes. But one of the things was this idea of being odd or different with the lyrics like odd music maker, dreamer of unusual dreams, like those lyrics. And like the idea of being odd and different and unusual, but having a place where you belonged was like comforting, very comforting.
Hmm.
Um, it's like, oh, because like I've grown up my entire life feeling like I don't fit in with people. Like I just, I've always had a hard time making friends and like socializing with people and just like feeling like I fit in. I've always felt like I was different from everybody and like separated. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm different and that's cool and everything. It was like, yeah, I learned to be okay with being different, but it was at the same time very frustrating because like I felt like I was too different to make friends and
Right.
to fit in enough where I was, accepted. And not to say that I was ever not accepted. Like I had, even though I felt like I was different from everybody, like couldn't fit in, I had a lot of people who were still very welcoming and like, oh yeah, come hang out with us and everything. But like the idea, and like I had a lot of people in my life who were like, I would consider friends by acquaintance, but I didn't have many like actual close friends. And anytime I would have somebody who's like, oh wow, I'm really close, they'd end up just kind of leaving me. And so I went
Hmm.
through multiple different times throughout my like childhood and teenage years where I just didn't have friends. And so like the I and so I learned to be okay with being the odd kind of different one. But it was also very isolating because I felt like I couldn't make friends because I was
Right.
odd and different. So listening to Sons of Thunder, where this idea of being odd and different and unusual is like a place of belonging where you can feel like you belong with other people who are the same way was like very comforting.
I can kind of empathize with that because I feel like in the Owl City community, that's what Adam's message has always been about, and is the people that he attracts. So for him to really put that, I'm gonna call it a mission statement, even though it's not official or anything like that. For him to put it into lyrics, this is a good song to showcase that for sure.
Yeah, and well, and given what Adam has said in interviews before, I feel like that's how Adam has felt, probably. Like he's always mentioned how he was like, the odd kid growing up who didn't have many friends and whatnot. And like he always, he'd rather go sit in his room writing music by himself than like go out with people. And so like
Right.
I feel like Adam is more so than just like it's not just Adam saying, "Oh, there's a whole bunch of odd lonely people. Let me like make music where they feel like they belong." It's Adam like, "This is how I felt and music has made me feel like I belong." There's other people out there like that. So yeah, I think you have a good point about being Adam's unofficial mission statement.
It kind of just, in a nutshell, gathers us all in and gives us a gathering song, an anthem almost, I guess. It's really cool. And I don't know, it's my favorite of the like, I guess three. I said two in my notes, but it's three God-centered songs in this album.
Yes.
It makes you feel loved, cared for, and blessed, and that's, what I
Yes.
think is supposed to be the mutual feeling.
Yeah, and I have another point that kind of sprouts off of my one point of the lyric like strange and exquisite let me try this again. Words are hard. About yeah, words are hard. Us being strange and exquisitely scarred, we won't need to pretend to be anything we aren't. And that it's just this idea of having this freedom to be who we are, that like the way that God has created us. Because, I'm awkward and don't fit in. I'm shy and don't really know how to be social with people, and I try my best. But like at the same point, God has created me to be the person I am. And like yeah, he made me kind of shy and I'm a bit awkward and I don't socialize well. But like I'm still who God made me to be. He made me this way and that's just how it is. You know. And I think at one point it is great to have this freedom to just be the person God has made you.
Right.
And yes, some of those can be things to be overcome. Like sometimes we need to overcome our shyness in situations and learn how to, socialize if somebody else needs you to socialize with them, or and there is benefit in learning to overcome those struggles. But like at the same time, that is still how God has made me, either whether, for whatever reason. It's still the way God has made my brain to function. Um, and it's just this reminder to have this freedom and who God has created me to be. If that makes any sense. I feel like it's not coming out the way it's worded in my head, but that's just
No,
how it
you're
goes
just
sometimes.
hitting me with a lot of heartfelt stuff today. I'm very awkward, as you know. So I'm trying to figure out how to work out of that. And honestly, you're just saying it so well. You're absolutely summing all of these up so well, and I'm just really impressed. So good job. Um, yeah, absolutely. We are beautifully and wonderfully made, and it says that in the Bible,
Exactly.
and I think it's 100% correct. You know, we all have our struggles in life. We all have things to come overcome. But in the end, we have the knowing that God made us. There's not another you, there's not another me. And it's really, really cool to see that, especially when you get to the point of growing up, I guess,
Hmm.
because you finally get to start kind of living out who you are. And it's really
Right.
cool to see all of your parents' hard work to pay off. And of course, Cod's um handiwork.
Yeah. Right.
What
It's
else you
just,
got?
yeah. Oh, a lot more. I
It's
got a few
okay.
more points.
Okay.
Um, the other lyric, I think this is the one, like, this was already such an emotional song at the beginning, as I kind of sat there and had this sense of belonging. But then we started getting into the middle of it, and I think that's when I really started just sobbing, which is the lyrics like, we are all too familiar with the fires of life, but we are resilient survivors. And that lyric, that lyrics is that hit too hard, man. I sobbed. But as someone who has like dealt with depression and like kind of this lonely, kind of isolated feeling, and someone who struggled to fit in and still doesn't really feel like I fully fit in with a lot of people, it was just very comforting to hear. It's like, yeah, it's like I hate that, you know, there's been I haven't always fit in and I've struggled with depression and anxiety and stuff. And but it's odd to say that there's comfort in knowing that you're not the only one, but like, there is. And like you hate to say it because you don't want other people to go to the things that you have like dealt with, like, oh, this stuff has sucked and I would hate for other people to feel this kind of stuff because it sucks. But at the same time, I've spent so much of my life feeling like there's something wrong with me because I've been so shy and so awkward and I struggle to fit in, and I've had such a hard time making friends when I've watched everybody my entire life like make friends so easily, and there's like these large group of friends and they get along so like they just click and they're friends, and like how do they do that? And like I felt so lonely and isolated for like such a good portion of my life that it's like I'd hate for somebody else to like feel that way, but it's comforting knowing that it's not something that's necessarily wrong with me and that other people feel the same way. It's not just me in this entire world of people. It's not just me who's struggling.
We all go through different things, and this song kind of unites us in that.
Right.
And I really like it.
It says, as it says, we're all too familiar with the fires of life, but we're resilient survivors. And that's just, I don't know, that feels like something that's been very true to my life, because it's like, as I said, I've never fit in. I've struggled to fit in, and then, but you just keep plugging along,
Get there eventually.
get somewhere eventually. I don't know.
I think you'll eventually get to where you want to be. And that seems kind of cliche, but the more you set goals for yourself and the more you plug on, as you said, you'll get there. It just takes time.
For me, the lyrics, we are all too familiar with the fires of life, but we are resilient survivors, very much reminds me of the lyric from This Is in the End, which is, you fight to survive because you've made it this far.
Oh, yeah.
That's very into that lyric. And it's like, that's been a big lyric for me growing up. And it's like, oh, things might seem really hard, but you've made it this far, so just keep plugging through.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And kind of similar to that, it's kind of like the next lyric in the song, which is, in one day we'll be free of nefarious schemes, of cruel twists of fate, and evil kings and queens. Um, like the idea of that this life is very bad. We live in a broken world, and there's a lot of bad things that happen in this world, and we all deal with hardships in our life. But the idea that one day there will be rest. We might feel restless on this earth right now, but there will be a day where we can finally rest in the presence of the Lord.
Amen to that.
It's like that was like from like this song, I listen to it all the time, and it's like it was just very encouraging and exciting, and just a reminder that this world is not our home, and that there will be we have a better home that's waiting for us, that he's preparing right now. And one day we'll be able to rest, like a rest deeper than we've ever experienced, to be able to rest in the presence of the Lord. And it's been like very encouraging and exciting, and it gets me pumped.
Just to see the eternity and what's gonna come after. I feel like that's definitely a motivator for a lot of Christians to like continue to do good where we are now
Right.
and to keep pushing and keep living and living for Jesus and overall just furthering his glory.
Exactly. And then, of course, the lyric that I think this was the point that I was already sobbing, but I think it was after this next lyric that I'm about to mention that I had to actually like pause it because I was sobbing so much, which
Aw.
is the lyric that gets to me every time, which is "Take heart, wild one, for there is a God that loves you to death, no matter what you've done." I said literally sobbing at this point, and I had to pause it. It's like it's like I don't know. As someone who's always, as I've mentioned a lot during this segment, who has always felt like there was something wrong with me. And I've grown up with this, I don't know. It's not that it's what was taught to me. It's just something that I've struggled with. The idea that I'm not like I know that obviously my good deeds have nothing to do with my salvation. It's all about God or Jesus's death on the cross. He took on our sins, and like that's covered now. So it's not that, as I said, it has nothing to do with the way I was taught growing up. But at the same time, I've just never felt like I was good enough. And
Right.
so like to hear this lyric was like, I don't know. It was like it all came to a head at this moment. And I was like sobbing because like I don't know. I've grown up with this idea that I was never good enough. Never good enough for anybody in my life, never good enough for my family or for the people around me or my friends. And it's like I said, nothing that was necessarily taught to me or like done. I just struggled to feel like I was good enough for people. And to hear this lyric was just like, oh, and I just was sobbing.
And yet, God took on, as you kind of relayed already, I guess, he took on our sins before we were even here, which is
So,
just an
yeah.
incredible love. So
Yeah.
that lyric really does ring home for a lot of people.
Yeah. And the fact that the lyric, like how you can look at this lyric and how literal it is, which is take heart, wild one, for there is a God that loves you to death, no matter what you've done. He loved us literally to the point of death. That's not just some
That's
floofy saying that people say to one another like we do now. That is a very literal saying that God loved us to the point of death.
I didn't even catch that to start with. I can't believe I didn't catch that.
I thought about this song a lot. I remember when the album first came out, I was just constantly spamming you with thoughts on Sons of Thunder. I spent like a whole day or two just spamming you with thoughts on Sons of Thunder.
It's a very spam worthy song. It
It
really
is.
is.
Oh, and another point to this song that just always like gets me is kind of towards the beginning of the song, one of the point lyrics is and with young unbroken hearts. And that's just another point to me that reminds me that this place is not our home and there will be a time where there's no more suffering and we'll be at peace in the presence of the Lord. We'll be made new. So we'll no longer have these broken bodies. We'll no have longer have these struggles. So we'll have like these young, unbroken hearts. We'll have new bodies. And there'll just be no more suffering. And that's just like, oh my gosh, that's exciting. And just on days that it's hard, I listen to Sons of Thunder and it's like it's hard right now, but just keep plugging through. There'll be a day when there's no more suffering and you'll be in the presence of the Lord. And that's just like encouraging. And I keep going on.
Dang, man, you just knocked that out of the park.
Uh, as I said, I've had like this song came out in one of the like I was in one of my mentally darkest spots in my life when this album came out. And so like this was the song that I needed. So that's why I like sobbed so much when listening to it.
No, I really love that song too. And you've brought up a lot of really good points that honestly I wouldn't have thought about in that much detail. And so talking about it is really, really good and been kind of cool to see your perspective from it. Um, it's such a beautiful song. Um, I really like the fact that it's kind of rock, but it's so much
Yeah.
more than surface level.
Yes. The whole thing is just beautiful. It's great. It's a
It
bop
is.
just from the instrumentals alone, but then the lyrics just make it so good. It's great.
I absolutely agree. Do you want to move on to the tornado?
Yes, I'll let you take it off. Take what is I don't know.
Take
Start
off.
with your
It really is take off.
yeah, you go with the tornado. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Start off
Just
our
take off.
discussion of
Here
the
we go.
tornado.
Rotational something or other.
Start playing what is it? Take off from the Spirit of St. Louis song. There we
Oh,
go. Everything I say, I
so
always like. I have just a catalog of Owl City references to pull out at any moment.
we'll keep working them in. Keep working them in. They're very helpful. Um, so for the tornado, uh, it's such a powerful song. It's one of those things, and it's kind of embarrassing, but it is on my notes, so I'm gonna say it. I sing it in the
Okay.
shower.
Ooh, fun. I don't sing in
But
the
just think
shower.
about it. Like I'm not self-conscious in the shower about my singing. Everywhere
Ooh,
else
well
I
that's
am,
lovely.
but like in the shower, I do not care. So if I have a voice crack going at the high notes, I don't care. I'm just happy as can be. So
That is great. Hey, we all need a place where we can just like jam out and sing at the top of our lungs to our heart's content. For me, that is in my car when I'm driving alone. But yes, we all need a place where we can
no,
just like sing our hearts out.
I love like jamming out in the car too alone. It's great. Um, but yeah, no, the shower's been it for me recently. So
That is great. I love to hear it.
you get all steamy with the fog and everything, and you have the echo of the high ceiling and just go for it.
You can grab a bottle of shampoo and use it as a microphone. It's just a great place.
Yeah. It's just that good.
It really is. And like I love it. I love singing the tornado. It is great. It is like such a fun like talk about getting energy out. Like pent up energy
Exactly.
out when singing the tornado. Like I will be in my car driving, listening to the tornado, and just full on screaming in my car, singing the tornado. And it's like, wow, this is such a great way to get energy, like pent up energy out.
It feels really good to have songs like that to really just like I feel tense. I feel tense. I need to do something about it. And some songs are just so good at that, and the tornado is one of those for sure.
It is. It
It's
is like,
just
ah,
so good.
great.
It's so good.
It really is. Like, oh,
I
I don't know.
guess no, go for it. Go for it.
I don't. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's just. It's great. That's all I was saying. That was the end of point.
So for me, I feel like maybe Your Sons of Thunder is my tornado in a way.
Yes, and I was gonna say that because I remember when the album first came out, I was like spamming you with Sons of Thunder and how special and like personal it was to me, and you ended up like spamming me with like the tornado and how personal it was to you, and it's like, see, great, we have like our songs. This is awesome. And being able to like
Yeah,
talk about it together was great. That was such a fun time.
I kind of hate that it didn't stay one of my favorite songs. Well, it is
Aw.
one of my favorites, but I mean, like at the top of the list. I'm kind of sad about that. But it is one that I play on repeat. And as I've said, it's definitely something that I'll, just randomly start singing aloud or think about all the time or jam out to in the
Yes.
shower. It's one of
Yes.
those.
It is
It's just
mwah, peak. Chef's kiss.
it really is. It really, really is. I love the hope that's behind it because there's so much hope driven into it. And it's just, if you're going through something, you can get through it no matter what. And it's such a motivational song to me. Um, so yeah.
Yes, it's like it is such a good song. Like, okay, so I remember, so I know we know a lot of people who listened to the album early, who ended up listening to it on the 23rd. Um, and like people were talking about the tornado, and
Oh
I
yeah.
wasn't sure what to think about it because people kept talking about screaming. I feel like this is a little bit of a divergent from what you were talking about, but like I don't know, I can't just jump around in a song. I speak about in chronological order. Um, like people were talking about a screaming part. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know what to think because we had heard a snippet of the tornado, and there was
Right.
a little bit of like a loud vocalness to it, but I wouldn't consider it screaming, which
I
is
think
the whole
that's
like, the whatever the bit where he first starts getting loud. Like that's the kind of bit of a snippet we heard before it was
yeah,
released.
exactly.
And I said I wouldn't consider that screaming. These people are just exaggerating. It's loud. It's kind of yelling-ish, but not screaming. And then it got to like it did that part, and then there was like the violinish or orchestral part, and then it got to the screaming, and I was like, oh my gosh, they weren't lying. He literally is screaming. And like I will tell you, it literally took my breath away. Like I was sitting
Yeah.
there like, oh, like for a second I was like, oh, like catch my breath for a second because it just shook me like that much. Like I was shooketh. I was shooketh. Sapph. Literally shooketh. And I was like, oh, like I had to stop for a minute and like catch my breath because I was not expecting that. It like almost like it felt like it took my breath away, which kind of added to this experience of being caught in a tornado.
It certainly was unexpected from the fam fam. Well, we are a fam, but I
We
meant
are
fandom.
fans.
I was trying to say fandom. um, it definitely was completely unexpected from the original and what it actually was gonna be, we thought. And but overall just really, really exciting. I really liked it and I liked the screaming bit and it's so good. It
Yes.
reminds me a lot of his projects back in the day when he tried to do screamo and stuff like that.
I
And I love the fact that he leaves the voice crack and like so many things that make it unperfect.
yes.
It just adds.
And I love that he keeps that in the tour too. Like he doesn't try to like tone down the screaming to make it sound prettier. Like you listen to some of his screaming and there's full on voice cracks and whatnot. And
Wow.
it doesn't sound pretty sometimes. But it's like it just adds to the authenticity of it.
That must have
Plus I
been a
just love the way
really
Adam says what?
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh well, I was just gonna say that I love the way Adam says vortex. I don't know. I listen to that one on repeat all the time. I'll just wind it up so I can hear him say vortex. I love it.
Vortex.
I
Vortex.
don't know what it is about it, but the way he says vortex, I'm like, oh, that just like scratches my brain.
Now just thinking about Vortex. Vortex.
It's just, I don't know. Just something about that entire like spot is great, but the way he says vortex is like, ooh, I like it, and I latch onto it and I repeat it in my head all day long. Um,
It's just Vortex all day long
vortex,
in
literally,
your head.
pretty much some days. Uh, some days I turn on the tornado just to listen to like that yelling, screaming caught in the tornado part. And I just listen to that on repeat, that little like 30, 45-second snippet. Just keep rewinding it, listening to it over and over again.
I mean, that's
pretty much what the song is, though. So I can't blame you for like putting it on repeat or rewind just to hear the screamo, because that's what it is.
Yes.
That's the biggest part of the song. Um, so
I wish it was longer. Like, I do like the way it has like this
ooh,
calmness to the end, like how it
yes,
calms down and like it very much has like you're stuck in a storm feeling. Like the way that storms hit so intensely, and then all of a sudden they're over and things are calm and the birds are chirping again just within seconds. It happens. Like that's very much how storms happen. But like, come on, the screamo was so great. Can we get more of it? It was like
please.
so high intensity. It's like, yes, I can jam out to this all day long.
I absolutely agree. And I feel like it would be a really cool song to hear live for sure. Um,
Yes, it's great.
it's just it's such a good song. It's so good. Yeah, I don't really know if I actually touched on this point, but the light at the end of the tunnel, and I really like that analogy just about like how God's gonna be there to catch you after everything is said and done, and he still got you. He's watching you no matter what, you know? And I just
Hmm.
really enjoy that, and it helps me a lot when I'm going through something, for sure. Um, as we grow up and stuff like that, well, one, it's hard to believe that Coco Moon is already like a year or over a year old.
I
It's kind of
know.
wild. But if I look at where I was emotionally and like in my fortitude and all this changes have happened in a year. And I
Right.
certainly can say that that song was one of the things that helped me with it a lot. So, I don't know. It's just a really overall good song. It's well balanced. The production is fantastic, and the surprise screaming. So,
Yeah, I do like the whole like light at the end of the tunnel. For me, it kind of gives tidal wave part two, um,
ooh,
because in tidal wave there's the lyric, "Is that the end of the tunnel or just the train?"
yeah, and it's the same theme too. It's kind of like
And yeah,
something's gonna go crazy. I'm not doing so hot. And then at the end of it, it turns itself around. Obviously, tidal wave's a lot more direct, but
right. I feel like it's interesting listening to all of Adam's music because like a lot of us, we grew up with Adam's music. We were both what 14 when we started listening to Owl
that's about
City, and
right. That's about
you know
right.
we're in our early 20s now. So like we grew up with Adam's music for like a good portion of our teenage years, and now we're moving into our early 20s with Adam's music. But at the same time, we kind of grew up with Adam because like you can see
Oh,
how Adam has grown in like I feel like Adam has definitely been one of those people, and I think he's touched and talked about this before in like interviews and whatnot before, and the way he's spoken at tours, like especially the cinematic tour. Um, but he kind of he struggled with like anxiety, depression, and whatnot. And, like you can see the way he reflects those themes in his earlier music, especially stuff like Ocean Eyes and whatnot. And like to see him grow and like to write kind of similar songs like we have Tidal Wave and then The Tornado have similar themes, but how you can see The Tornado is written from a perspective of like of just a different mentality of like he's grown older and he's learned more in life, and so like he's looking at life from a different mentality and perspective now that he's older than he looked at it when he was in his early 20s when he wrote Ocean Eyes, you know.
that's a really, really good point. It just goes to show that you can still learn stuff even if you are technically an adult. We're always constantly learning, growing, and changing. And I really like that because for Adam, it's really interesting because let's just say for people who really enjoy music, let's go with that. There are so many factors, different songs, what you listen to affects you so much. And for Adam, we obviously know that, he's had a bunch of his I guess his role models in music. He's had the chance to um work with them before, which is really, really neat.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show how much he's learned from them and from other like places, just going through experiences, I guess. And the same is for us, as well as a bunch of other fans that, again, grew up with his influence. And it'd be kind of weird to see what we would be like without Adam today. Obviously,
Right.
we wouldn't be here.
Weird. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. It'd be sad.
It would be really sad. It would be
Like, think
very
about it.
sad.
We would have never met and become friends if it wasn't for Adam's music.
Exactly.
And like here we
This
are being
podcast
like best
wouldn't
friends now.
happen. Yeah, I was gonna say this wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have met several years ago. I would be completely alone, I'll be honest, because
I'm
most of
probably
my
the same,
friends are
honestly.
in the Owl City community, or I've met them through somebody in the community.
Yeah, honestly, same. I would be
So
like, oh, I don't know anybody, and I'm lonely. Here I am by
hmm.
myself in my solitude. But instead, here
You're
I
my
am spamming
solitude.
you with. But here I am spamming you with all of my bread products that I make.
See, I love seeing your bread products though. They look delicious. I want one. I want a loaf of sourdough.
Yeah, that's it. We gotta make a meetup happen
We,
at some point, so I can give you all the
yeah,
sourdough.
I'm just gonna like show up your house one day and
Like
be
I'm
like,
here for
yo,
sourdough.
hey, sourdough, let's go.
Oh, let's go. Here's Diesel. I'd like to introduce you to my son, Diesel. He's a
Oh
lovely
yeah,
sourdough starter.
Diesel, the sourdough starter. Your dog Hannah's just gonna be like, excuse me.
I was like, sorry, Hannah. Here's my other child, Hannah.
Yeah, my other
Oh.
child, the black sheep.
The actual living creature.
Uh, well, isn't Eve's
Well,
living though?
technically, yeah, Diesel's
I
technically
mean,
living too.
microorganisms, right?
Yeah, it's yeast, which is technically living. It's active yeast, so technically Diesel's alive too. I need to stick googly eyes on my Diesel jar.
Oh my gosh, please. Oh,
Or
that'd
have
be
some sort of like
great.
band thing that I can slip on him that has googly eyes. That way I can like
Oh,
take it off and clean him. But
oh,
like he can have googly eyes. That'd be great.
little
I need to do
Diesel
that.
has googly eyes.
I need to do that.
Send me a picture.
Yeah, I will. Once I get it figured out. I have to get the supplies, but Diesel will have googly eyes.
His auntie Sapph is rooting for him for sure.
Yes. He's been doing great lately. He's been just like growing so much. I'm so proud of him.
Aw, such a big boy.
Such a big boy. Turning into my
Oh
grown
boy.
man sourdough.
I love sourdough. Sourdough's good though. It's one of my favorite breads.
It's great. It's been really great. I keep forgetting to make a loaf this week. I have not made a loaf this week. I need to this upcoming week. It's
Yo.
just, but between you have to start it, like feed it, so I can start it when I get home. But then if I wait too long, then it's like too late in the night because it takes like 4 hours to make the dough.
Dang.
Like a 4 hour process of letting it sit and then stretching it and letting it sit and stretching it. And then, yeah, so it's like, if I wait till like after 8, it's too late because then it's like after midnight by the time it's done. So I need to do it like 6:30 or earlier to get it done in time.
There you go.
Here's
There
another
you go.
interesting thought that I was just thinking of. So Adam's age when he released Ocean Eyes is pretty close to what our age is now. He was 23 or almost 23 when Ocean Eyes came out. He was almost 23.
Right.
Or just turned 23, something like that. So that's pretty close to what our age is now. So we would have
That's
been,
interesting.
so our age right now is like Maybe I'm Dreaming / of June age. It's interesting.
Of
Just interesting.
June, or not of June. Maybe I'm Dreaming is our favorite album.
Yes.
That's kind of neat.
It's pretty great.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was just
It
randomly
just
thinking
goes
about
to
that.
show what can happen in just a couple of years. Hobby can
I
go
know.
to a job, if you work at it. And again, back to Adam Check, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really, really cool. I like it. Do you want to hit?
Goodness, look at the time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's installment of Shuttle Bus Podcast. You'll be able to hear the rest of this topic being discussed in the next episode. You can also find us on Instagram at shuttlebus_podcast for more Owl City focused fun.